basically the piece represents colours, red and gold, and that sort of came from the idea from painting really, and especially I did some art history in high school, and we did a lot of topics, but we had one that we went quite into depth with, which was 14th century Italian Renaissance art. And so gilding comes into that, and they have a sort of gilding method where they put a red sort of clay beneath the gold leaf, and it sort of enhances the hue. It brings out a warmth in the gold tone. So I just, and I mean, I'm not a painter or an artist, but I've always sort of drawn a little bit here and there, and painting things just as gifts for people. And I was just painting one day, and it was just sort of the experience of seeing these colours interact. Yeah, I just found it I'm quite a visual sort of person, so it was just my response to the interaction of colour. So the first movement is red, and then it goes on to gold, and then sort of red comes back, and the two colours butt heads a bit before they synergise it towards the end. Yeah, and I guess you sort of feel the sense of calm and resolution. Yeah, red is quite volatile, and it's quite zingy. I guess can be quite harsh at times. I've written glinting at the beginning of the piece, so I guess there's more sort of raucous sounds in there, lots of harsh sort of flutter tonguing in the brass, and the first movement's very gestural, and I see red as being that anyway. I guess I thought of red as sort of the harsher spectrum of red. So gold is very tinkly, lots of glockenspiel, and they sort of interact with the harp. So the harp, there's two harps in this, and they sort of have a lot of duo moments, so they become quite central to the piece. Kaya Sariaho is a huge influence, and she's spectralist in some sense, like she's very influenced by Murel and Grisey. But then again, I haven't heard a huge amount of them yet. I've still sort of been delving into that. There are others like Harrison Birtwistle, so I guess the very gestural stuff. Some of the Turnbull stuff I've been thinking about, he's got very sort of harsh and sparse, very stark sort of sounds happening in his sound worlds. And Olga Neuvert, actually, especially at the beginning of the piece, less so towards the end, but I like how her music's sort of driven by gesture rather than a traceable line.
There are a lot of techniques that the young players who will play this piece won't have encountered before. How has the process of communicating those to them been?
It's been really good. I've sort of been going to sectionals, and they'd show me how they've been doing it, and it's sort of almost a muted version of what I wanted. So if you can try to explain it to them all, we might have sort of a bit of to and froing for a few minutes, but then someone will come up with something and I'll be like, yes, that's it. Or sometimes a lot of these things I've actually tried out myself on instruments, so I sort of know what I'm going for, and if I can kindly ask them, can I please touch their instrument, then they'll let me have a go. It doesn't always come out well, but because I don't really play any of those. But yeah, it's good to know what you've sort of asked them to do, and if you can demonstrate that, that's really helpful. And then Alexander Shelley, he arrived yesterday. We just talked through it, and he promised to sort of deconstruct it and put it back together again. So I think it's in really good hands, and yeah, he seems to understand the piece, like what I want out of it, and the textures. He sort of knows what's in the foreground and when. So yeah, it seems he's sort of taking the time to look at it texturally in terms of the layering that's going on. So I'm sure we'll get even more into the nitty gritty with that. But yeah, he's very approachable. So if I had any concerns, then I could just go to him, and I'm sure it'd be fine to sort it out. But I find that there's quite big progression stylistically, I think, between each piece I do, particularly now that you've got to work during the day. So I guess the music becomes of even more importance and significance and sentiment to you personally. You sort of put your everything into it. I'm always thinking about what the material's asking of me, like where does it want to go? That's what I'm constantly asking myself when I'm writing. So it's a very intuitive sort of process. I just sort of visualize these colours in my head, and I tried to just let whatever sounds come into my mind and that I could associate with that colour. So yeah, I tried to evoke sounds, like just sort of meditating on these colours almost.